Now an empty washing up liquid bottle and some sticky back plastic. What more do you need? Just beat that, Einstein.
Hello. My bedroom is boiling hot in the summer but freezing cold in the winter. How can I apply a little science to keep it at a comfortable temperature all year round? We've given 5 volunteers a similar problem. We've dumped them in Sherwood Forest, given them some household junk and asked them to make a treehouse which would automatically maintain a comfortable temperature 24 hours a day.
How to measure the height of a tree? You need a stick. I need a stick and a little lassie.
Well, we'll be going back to them later. But first, a team of young scientists in Edinburgh have to work out a way of transporting an airmail letter. They've got to send the letter from the ground floor to the first floor landing here in the Royal Museum of Scotland.
This is massive.
The height of the landing is 7.2 metres and the width of the room is 12.2 metres, so the angle of flight needs to be about 30 degrees up from the horizontal. The first thing they decide to do is find some help. They should be in luck because this week Edinburgh is hosting a science festival and there are scientists everywhere.
Well, we're looking for a sort of mad scientist guy.
Yeah, no grey-haired man with glasses and a white coat.
Wiggles on his back.
Right. Do you know any teachers like that?
A few.
Now this looks like the sort of place you'd find a mad scientist.
Are there any other ways of getting lift apart from the wings?
Yes, apart from wings, you can make an aircraft that's actually lighter than air by filling a balloon with helium. The problem with that is, because it is so big, you get a lot of drag when you try and drive it forwards.
What do you mean by drag?
Right, drag is what happens to a flying structure when it tries to push air out of the way. This doesn't have much drag because it doesn't present much to the wind as it goes along. It's very narrow.
How do you steer your flying machine?
The rudder stops it doing that in flight, and this tailplane stops it doing that. Now, an airship made by a balloon like this, because it goes slowly, needs much bigger control surfaces, all right? So if this were an airship, we need a really big tail and a really big fin here to keep it going straight.
Well, he seems mad enough. To make the flying machine, we've given them various bits of old junk.
Here we have some balsa wood, polystyrene, and 3 large bits of cardboard.
They tell me these are balloons, but I've no idea what we're going to fill them up with.
We've got a washing up liquid bottle and some sticky back plastic. With this, we can make anything. We've already had lunch, so I don't know what we're going to do with these.
A propeller and a motor. Cool.
In this bag we've got cogs and lolly sticks. Like who wouldn't put cogs and lolly sticks together?
Right, what we thought of doing is, this is one of our ideas, having the balloon sideways down, the point end at the front, and we're going to make a framework out of balsa wood to hold it together, and maybe we'll have to work out if it's strong enough to support the motor or the propeller or anything else that's going to be on that.
I think we should base the idea of the shape on an airship.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. So I think once we've actually built it, I think we should try it with the letter.
Because the motor's quite heavy, isn't it? It must be.
Yeah, but it is. But
On its own, but
we're
with a
going to
battery as well.
going to make a
To the
frame,
balloon.
if we're going to make a frame for the propeller, we're best to use the straws.
The wee box where all the people sit underneath it,
Yeah,
and that's where we could put the letter.
but it would have to be well balanced
Yeah, it would
between
have
the
to be in the
two.
middle.
You need to have some way of like keeping it controlled from waving about. And if it's not going that fast, like if you're just using that, possibly would go very fast. You need to have a rudder tail fin piece. Yeah.
Where do you get these things? A balloon flying up the Royal Museum. P.S. I love you.
Like that? Yeah, like that angle. Just leave it like that, yeah.
Now let it go?
Yep. No. Get it again, quick. Oh no.
Go on now. 2, 3, go.
Oh. Right, well, the balloon didn't work, so we're going to try this instead. Right.
Back to the drawing board yet again.
What we need is to join a balloon to wings, or
Yeah, like
2 balloons.
we had one
Two
balloon, and
balloons,
and the motor was too heavy.
So
But
we've
we've got a few balloons, so
one
like
on
2
each end.
balloons would lift it a lot more.
And the
Yeah.
motor would propel it along.
You
Yeah.
could have one underneath
But
it, lift it even more.
only one propeller, because it's two that's just they're so heavy compared to
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
things.
But 2 balloons against 1 propeller would maybe balance
Yeah.
it out and
Yeah.
make it go up. We'll stick these 2 balloons together to make it more stable.
Yeah. So it doesn't slip.
We'll have it sort of box shaped like that, and then we can turn it.
You have to move the battery back and forth, though. Well, so we can counterbalance the weight of the motor, which is going to be at this end, here. So we can maybe put the battery there.
Oh, okay.
Homemade jet propulsion. Let's see if it works. Well, back to the drawing board another time.
So we can either put on the top or the bottom, which if it's on, which will probably be best here, which will be on top now, which will be on the bottom when we turn it over. But if it's on the top, it will like be heavier, so it's best on the bottom if it's the right way up.
Everyone following this so far?
Right, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Almost.
It's going forward. It's going forward.
Need more lift.
Move it lightly heavy.
I think we could do with losing a tiny bit of weight somewhere.
Yeah. It's off balance in the middle.
It's gone.
It's gone squint. Stop it.
I thought airmail letters are supposed to be really light.
Things that you put in them.
We need to take some wire off
Okay.
to take some weight off. So the maximum the battery is here. So we can take away this much wire.
Ready, chaps? Check. In 5, 4, 3. Chocks away. We have liftoff. Johnny spiffing.
Oh, yeah, rather.
Excellent.
Come on, come on,
Come on, you can do it.
Come on, it's coming.
Come on, you can do it.
It's good. Come on. Oh, it's going a bit high.
So they managed to get the letter delivered. And apparently it said that they might have won £50,000 in a special prize draw. Well, after the break, we'll find out how much trouble our intrepid team gets into building a temperature-controlled treehouse.
Oh, no.
Welcome back. And now it's time to go over to Sherwood Forest and see how they're going to tackle this treehouse. Robin Hood and his merry men have long since gone, but there are still plenty of trees. Our team of volunteers are 5 people who've just met each other for the very first time, and they've just been told that they've got to build a house which will stay comfortably cool in the day and pleasantly warm at night, and we've suggested they build the house in this tree. That's the challenge. The team is Mick Brown, who's a Geordie coach driver from Lincoln, Dave Elliott, a technical officer from Rotherham, Anita Woodward, a technical engineer from Mansfield Woodhouse, David Taylor, an agricultural merchant who writes and produces pantomimes, and Philip Nixon, an electrician from Mansfield who's 23 and says he enjoys a good challenge. To help them in their task, we've given them a bag of tools, bicycle pumps, hose pipe, an ordinary radiator, some unions, 2 water butts, some eggs, some glass and wood, lots of rope, some books, some pop bottles, some low melting point wax, and a whole pile of other junk, the like of which you could find hidden away at the back of any old garden shed or garage.
That's the tools. I found the toolkit.
This simple experiment shows the amount of energy available in 1 peanut.
How to measure the height of a tree. We need a stick. We need a stick and a little lassie.
A little lassie? That's a bit sexist, isn't it?
The thicker the walls, the better they insulate the inside against both cold season night and the hot season day.
Yeah. To heat it, I think we might be able to use solar power. Yeah, well, get some water in black hose and then put it through behind a bit of glass.
Yeah, and we've got the black inner tubes.
Use them.
To draw the heat from the sun.
It's just conserving it, isn't it?
Yes, that's the heating. Now, what about the cooling?
Yeah, the ventilation, it's got to be automatic.
Yeah.
It can't be something, so if he's away, it's got to cool down so you don't come back to an oven.
Oh, that's right. And
so we need some sort of thermostat.
It's going to cool it down when it's hot.
So it controls itself, so it's not too hot or too cold.
It's not easy
to dig round.
Yeah, but you could have all the roots from the tree.
Get the base first and then build it up from there.
Yeah.
What, about a foot from the ground?
To him to
reckon?
defend
As soon
himself.
as you start building it, then as soon as if you feel that it's going to go wrong, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can change it. The more you talk about it, think, well, it might do that, but it might not work. We'll be talking till 12.
They're very keen to dig down. Perhaps it's the local mining tradition, but there's a very good reason why we suggested building it in the tree. They're insulating the cavity with Pteridium aquilinium, or as a botanist would say, ferns. But they still haven't worked out what to do with those eggs we gave them at the beginning. To insulate properly, you have to trap a lot of air, and the best way to trap air is with a good old thick meringue.
Forget these bottles and then take the label off, and then there's some black hose. We pass that all the way through. Then trap the heat instead of doing the panel.
Building a square panel.
Yeah, we have like a
trapping
sausage.
the hose in that.
Yeah, a heat sausage.
Pity we spent all that money on the sheets of glass. They're going to capture the solar heat with some bottles and a hose pipe. Fair enough, the pop bottle method can get the water temperature up beyond 50 degrees Celsius on a sunny day, and in fact, this was one of the favourite hippie tricks of the late 60s. Dave must be older than he looks.
That's the unit that he's going to live in. You want your radiator to be at the top of the heating system. Between your solar panel and your radiator, you need somewhere to store the hot water, because the hot water, the barrel or something, because he's only going to use the hot water at night when it's going to be cold.
Yes, Dave has sussed it. I'll just put some dye above where this water is being heated by the gas burner. Now, when you heat water, it expands, so it gets less dense. So, less dense warm water floats on top of more dense cold water. So, the warm water rises, reaches the surface, cools, falls down on the other side, and you get circulation. So that's the secret with central heating. You put the heat in at the bottom and take it out at the top. And the same is true of a fridge. You put the icebox at the top, so the cold air falls down.
So we start off, we put the radiator as high as we can in the house. So the bottom of that's above the top of the barrel. And then the bottom barrel, and then how deep this has got to go.
Yeah.
Rather than fix it to the back wall, if we can sling it under the roof, so the bottom of the radiator we're getting a higher point for that.
Putting the radiator on the roof isn't a great idea. Hot air rises, so all they'll end up with is a hot roof. Meanwhile, Mick has worked out that during the heat of the day, they'll need a ventilator to cool the house down.
If we cut a hole in the roof and leaving about an inch around there, lay that on the top or tape it on the top with a little bit weight in it so that it doesn't just float up when the wind hits it, then once the temperature hits it from the inside, the hot air, it'll lift her up and let some of the hot air escape. You squeeze it. Yeah. And then we'll put that on there.
Mick's first attempt at a thermostat to open the ventilator looks a little limp.
The temperature rises, that'll inflate the balloon, and then we'll find some way of utilising it into lifting the flap up on the roof.
Yeah.
After half an hour in the sun, it's still a little limp. Fortunately, his second design looks a lot more promising.
Now, like a thermometer, where you've got the small gap inside the big expansion, if we put the bike pump inside the bottle and seal it, right? Don't know whether we'll use gas or what yet, or liquid, but if we force the pressure into it like that, as the pressure comes up in the bottle, it's going to force that piston up in there and actually push that up, and then we can use that once we find out what temperature it'll work at and that to lift a flap up on the roof. We've got it sussed, I reckon.
One of the main things they have got sussed is using the water butts as giant heat batteries, charging up the butts with heat from the solar heaters during the day and letting that same heat circulate from the butts into the radiator at night. Overnight, Mick had come close to divorce by filling the family freezer with bicycle pumps and wax. But by the next morning, he'd perfected the Mark III thermostat.
To lift the flap on the roof, the pressure, once this heats up, the pressure in the wax is going to force the plunger up. And we're going to get movement of roughly about 1/4 of an inch. That's in theory. Oh!
Although the balloon didn't work as a thermostat, Anita and Mick have used the balloon successfully as a cut-off valve in the hot water circuit. I think they just like playing with balloons.
This comes out, pours the water in, put it back in, and it cuts off the water.
There's again. You know, with the radiator being at the highest point, it gives off. I mean, the heat's going to. It heats up by convection, doesn't it, rather than radiation. I know it's called a radiator, but it's not radiation heat, it's convection heat, isn't it? Yeah. Well, with the radiator being there at the top, all it's going to do is heat the roof up, because there's no air to pass over it, is there? It's just going to heat up the roof. So really, it should be flat. But the only thing is, if you have the radiator lower, the bottom of the radiator is going to be lower than the top of the pipes.
So we've got to get the house higher.
We've got to lift it up, either put it on legs or hang it from a tree.
Lift it.
Yeah, well, we did suggest you built it in the tree.
That's about the only way to do it. Going up there.
Within a couple of hours, the sun is having a noticeable effect on the water, which is circulating in the solar heating system.
Temperature's going up.
Get the first one in.
Go.
Household tipped, how to stop splitting the wood.
Who said British manufacturing skills were being lost forever?
Split the wood.
There you go.
There you go.
Anything else?
Yeah, wrong way.
You get that lattice work going right.
After half an hour adjusting to the temperature inside the house, Mick's valve is actually working.
Yeah, it's working okay because the plunger's actually moving out and forcing its way into that balloon. So as it's been getting warmer in here, it's actually closing off the central heating.
Meanwhile, there's a last gasp effort to provide insulation for the hot water butts.
Same principle as the one on the thermostat. We've actually got this on here. This is pretty solid. It's not going to go anywhere. As the temperature rises, this is going to expand again, forcing the handle out, and that's going to open the door slightly.
1, 2, 3. Oh!
Well, I suppose it's a treehouse of sorts.
What the hell are you doing?
Come on.
You got it?
Yeah. Oh. I had it about 5 minutes ago.
Right,
before Anita started screaming.
Go it.
Yeah.
You're braver than me, man, than me.
Yeah, it's taking its way. It's going.
Will do.
Hey! It's not too bad, actually. Hey!
How's it feel like you? A braver than man than I, young goodin.
That's it.
And the final touch, a header tank to fill the radiator.
It's absolutely, look at it, it's gushing out.
Now, they weren't expecting this, and it's all to do with hydraulics.
Oh no!
I'm just filling this plastic pipe, and I've got a head of water of about 2 metres there. The cross-sectional area is quite small, about a square inch, so there's not much pressure. I can easily support the pressure with my finger. But if I attach this head of water to the pipe connected to the hot water bottle underneath the books, that pressure acts on every square inch of the surface of the hot water bottle and provides enough force to lift the weight of those books. Now, their radiator is about 2 metres above the top of the water barrel, so the same kind of pressure is acting over the lid. That's about twice the area. It's a very large force. And to resist that force, they've elected to use good old sticky tape. But they're going to need a lot more than that to keep those lids on.
Drop it down a bit. Drop it down.
There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. Nothing in it.
It's the radiator that's...
The radiator. The radiator's fell in it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, right.
It's the radiator.
So we've got the pressure in the radiator, got in the rudder tank.
Mastic man.
Look at it! Oh, you come and stand here and say that.
After a couple of hours, the leaks have been sealed, the ventilators are working, and the occupant has moved in. Well, it's quite comfy in here. I've stayed in worse places. I've got my hay fever tablets because of all the ferns under the carpet and some light bedtime reading. The radiator is fairly warm, so here we go. Good night. Good morning. Well, that was a fairly comfortable night. It was about 22 degrees when we went in yesterday, and the minimum temperature was 16, so that was quite cosy, really. It was a very nice night, but frankly, I could do with a lie-in. Oh, God.